You may be seated. You said. Okay. No, I got it. I need to see your list because I didn't address.
This one was withdrawn. H was withdrawn. And B was not admitted.
Got it. But then.
And then I have C through F.
Okay. Right. And those are the ones I'm more worried about because on the people's side, you only have what, one?
Just A, just one. Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to make sure we get it clear on the record about that. Court calls case, People State of Michigan versus Jillian Kerry.
Ashley Lundy for the people.
Good evening, Your Honor. Michael Bellata on behalf of Jillian Kerry, who's present in court.
All right. Your name, ma'am?
Jillian Kerry.
All right. Thank you. All right. Just some housekeeping things here, counsel. I have a note that at the last hearing, you had submitted to the court exhibit C through F. But I don't know that I don't have notes of testimony regarding those. And C through F were not addressed at all.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true. The only exhibits that were admitted, we just confirmed with Ann, are exhibits, defense exhibits A and G.
Yes.
Those can be returned. I'm not going to be going.
You will not be.
I don't think I'm.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
As well as People's One. Those are the exhibits that have been admitted at this.
Correct. I didn't have a problem with any of People's exhibits, so we can hand those back. I didn't have a problem because I only had one. I had note that was admitted. I had the admitted, no, those go to defense.
Yeah.
And I had defense exhibit A was admitted, B was not, G was admitted, and I think H was withdrawn. I just did not have anything regarding those exhibits, and I just wanted to make sure the record's clear.
B wasn't.
Pardon?
No.
B was not admitted.
Not admitted. No.
B was not.
But not. That's what I thought.
Okay. All right. I think that's what I said. So I think we have it. All right. We ready to continue,
The
folks?
people are ready.
All right. We call your next witness.
Alex Phillips, Your Honor.
All right. Sir, please come forward and be sworn.
Before you take a seat, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to affirm the testimony about the the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your first and last name for the record.
Alex, A-L-E-X, Phillips, P-H-I-L-L-I-P-S.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, how are you employed? In what capacity? How long have you been in that position?
Approximately 5 years.
Were you so employed on or about November the 20th of 2023?
Yes,
Did you go to the Scioto Township office on that date?
I did.
For what purpose? And when you went to Scioto Township on the 20th, what were you going there to do on that date?
On the 20th, I believe, was to retrieve the laptop, reference the initial complaint.
Did you retrieve it?
I did.
Where did you take it?
Back to Station 7
For what purpose?
for safekeeping until detective forensic. Will you check it?
Not your department, correct? Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
You log in into a secure location at Station 7 when you tick it in?
I do not recall.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly. Good evening, Deputy Phillips. Now, are you the officer in charge in this matter?
Yes,
And on November the 16th, were you working on duty that day? And before I question any further, Your Honor, I'm going to go beyond the scope of that. Should I?
I'll let you go.
But I'm going to be brief, but I know that I'm going to
As long
ask
as
questions
it's-
that are not.
As long as it's relevant. Just-
Okay, thank you.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you. And so you took the initial report that evening from Mr. Will Hathaway, is that correct?
Yes.
And he told you that, I mean, the complaint was just generally that his email had been breached. I think you said in your report. Is that right?
Yeah, I do think that is hearsay. Reject.
I'm just establishing.
Regarding Hathaway's statement,
Yes.
I'm gonna sustain that.
All right, well, I'll move past that then, Judge, and I'll go
Well,
to,
hang on a second. Restate your question again.
I was asking him, what was the general allegations, the nature of the complaint?
No, I'm gonna change my mind on that. I'm gonna let that be answered as long as and we'll only be taking the responses to go to this officer's state of mind and what he may have done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Yeah,
Go
thank
ahead.
you, Your Honor. And so the general allegation, wasn't it, that, and I think Mr. Hathaway let you know that his email had been breached. In other words, somebody accessed his email and sent an email to another official at Scioto Township. Is that right? Okay. And then on November 18th, according to your report, you spoke with Detective Parvis, is that correct?
Yes.
And you gave him a short summary of the allegations, is that right?
Yes.
And based on this short summary that you gave, Detective Parvis told you that criminal actions had been taken. That's according to your report, is that right?
Your Honor, objection, hearsay.
I'll overrule it. I'll allow.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And when he made that statement to you, you put that in your report, correct?
Yes.
But that was on November the 18th, correct?
I believe so.
And that was 2 days before you just testified that you went and retrieved the laptop that's at issue in this case. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that sounds right.
Okay, so did you think his declaration, well, I'll withdraw that question. The warrant was issued for my client on June the 13th of 2024, is that right?
I believe so.
But without tying you to a particular date, was it around June of last year that the warrant issued?
That sounds right.
Okay, but you didn't swear to it, is that right? And Officer Howard Schaefer did, is that true?
Yes, sir.
Did you provide all of the relevant evidence and information to Deputy Schaefer prior to his swearing to this?
I'm not entirely sure how he reviews the reports, but he reads the report that's submitted and swears to it, is my understanding.
Okay, and before you sought the warrant, did you do any investigation yourself?
I interviewed people.
Did you interview Ian Hubert?
I did.
Did you write a report on that? Or did you, like a separate report for Ian Hubert's interview?
It was in one of the supplemental reports, yes.
All right, so it would be like a paragraph or two in the report, but not a separate report, is that right? Do you know when you did, when you interviewed him? If it isn't in the report?
I believe it was in the report, but off the top of my head, I don't know the exact date.
Would it refresh your memory to look at your report?
It was.
Can I approach?
You may.
I'm just showing. Look at that and let me know if that refreshes your memory, please. And if that's not the right report, please let me know that too. Did that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall now when you interviewed Mr. Hubert?
I believe it was the next day.
When you say the next day, would that be the November the 17th?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay, so when you say the next day, so the next day, the day following the day that he came in and made the complaint, correct? And did you also interview Mr. Will Hathaway?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you also interview Jillian Kerry?
Yes, sir.
Did you interview Jessica Flintoff, the individual who is alleged to have received the forwarded email in question? If you didn't interview, what's the reason why you didn't? Were you actually in charge of the investigation, or at some point did you turn it over to Detective Parvis?
I believe one of them-
Okay, just because I don't understand it, would you consider Detective Parvis then the investigator in charge of the case, or are you both investigators in charge, or is there no designation? I don't know.
I'm listed as the officer in charge, but I think Detective Barber's handled. Whatever.
All right, just so that I don't waste the court's time, especially at this late hour, I'm not going to ask you any questions. Then, if you don't know, you don't know anything about Microsoft Purview audit logs or anything like that that go to the heart of the issue in this case on the computer side of it. You don't know about that stuff, correct?
Correct.
All right. Did you interview Francis Zuma, the recipient of the calendar invitation in this case? And again, is there a reason that you didn't, or did you, was the duty at some point to interview witnesses, was it turned over to Detective Parvis?
It's kind of joint venture.
Okay, but do you know why she wasn't interviewed, if she wasn't?
I don't know.
And if I could approach Your Honor with Exhibit G admitted, can I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Do you recognize Defense Exhibit G? You ever seen that document?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Did you, during the course of the investigation, did you speak with one of Ms. Kerry's attorneys named Mark Chutko?
I believe I spoke to an attorney. I'm not sure. Though.
Okay. Did Mr. Chutko provide you a copy of Exhibit G, if you recall?
I don't know.
You don't recall? Okay. And do you see what's highlighted on that page? Could you just read that?
Direction on the exhibit speaks for itself.
I want to ask him about it. What
Well,
it
you
says.
see the highlighted, the part that starts with sorry?
Well, he said
Yeah, I
he
wanted
as
to
well.
read it so I can ask a question about it.
Well, read it, not out loud, just.
All right, read it to yourself if you
Go
will.
ahead, and then you can ask questions.
Okay. Okay, so it's an email. You see there's an email to someone named Kim Moore, amongst other people, by looks like Mr. Will Hathaway. Do you see that?
Yes.
And do you see that the email says, sorry, this email seems to have sent itself again when I logged in just now? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, would that have been an important piece of evidence for your investigation if you're trying to find out whether or not the email in question was sent by Mr. Hathaway or whether it was sent by Ms. Kerry? Would that have been an important piece of evidence, do you think?
Tanner, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll rephrase the question. It was a poor
Thank
question.
you, that was.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you had seen this, as you read it, as you heard me read it now, and you read it to yourself, would that have been something that you would have put aside or said that this is important to the case?
Yes.
And do you recall doing that? So then do you think you didn't receive this or do you not recall?
I don't believe I received it.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll grab that back. And you didn't interview Kim Moore, the woman on this email, did you?
No.
Did you investigate the relationship between Jillian Kerry and Mr. Hathaway to see if there's any acrimony between the two of them or any motive by either one of them to either send an email or say that someone sent an email? Did you look into the relationship, I guess, in your investigation?
I was informed of some tension.
Okay, but did you interview anyone based on what you were informed or no?
I don't believe I interviewed anyone specifically about issues they had. I believe it was brought up during the course of speaking to people.
Okay, and then on November 19th, the day before you went and you got the computer, did you interview Jillian Kerry at her home? And did you give her any notice that you were going to come out and interview her?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and you did that at night, right? Is that right?
Yes, sir. In the afternoon.
Okay, and did you go by yourself?
I believe so.
Was there a reason that you went at nighttime without giving her any notification? Did you consider maybe calling her and letting her know you were coming?
I generally just go knock on people's doors first if I can, and I work at the time I worked 4 to midnight, probably.
So it was really based on your shift is why you went later in the day as opposed to trying to gain some kind of tactical advantage. Is that right? And she agreed to speak with you, did she not? And she invited you into her home? Was she cooperative? And did she agree to answer questions about what happened? She did? And did she, and isn't it true that she didn't admit to doing anything illegal? Is that correct?
This time is the hearsay.
Sustained.
All right, in your report, I noticed that you updated your report on occasion. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And one of the updates in your report, you write, William requested to have Detective Parvis look through the computer. And I can show you a report again if you don't recall that. It's on page 5 of your report. Would you like to see that again?
No, I remember.
All right, so was it the fact that William Hathaway requested that Detective Parvis look at the computer? Is that what caused you to go get the computer?
I believe I was coordinating with that Detective Parvis, trying to examine the computer to see if that would be beneficial for evidence.
Okay, but you weren't doing it just because William Hathaway asked for it. That was Detective Parvis who said you need to get the computer. Is that right? Now, I understand that you took the what we call the shared laptop. We're going to call it the shared laptop, the shared SIO laptop. You took that to get to Detective Parvis to examine forensically, correct?
Yes.
And did you ever take William Hathaway's cell phone? It was never imaged as far as you know, correct? It was never extracted, I guess is the right word.
As far as
Okay. And did you try to determine what other devices that Mr. Hathaway was using at the time this email incident occurred?
I don't know.
So you don't know if he was using an Apple computer, for instance, an Apple laptop? You don't know? And Detective Parvis never had you go get any other devices besides the shared laptop, correct? Is there any reason why you didn't image the other devices if the issue had to do with who sent the email?
Any reason he didn't what?
Any reason that he didn't get any other devices to see what the activity was on Mr. Hathaway's devices?
After speaking to Detective Parvis, he recommended the laptop. Move it out of my wheelhouse.
You were kind of letting Detective Parvis make the calls on what he needed forensically, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember on February 9th of 2024, Mr. Chetko providing you a copy of Exhibit G? I was just wondering if the date would help you. Do you remember getting something from Mr. Chetko in February of 2024?
I do not.
Okay. And are you aware of Mr. Chetko sending you a copy of a report done by a company called N1 Discovery?
Not that I recall.
And my last couple questions have to do with this. You were aware at the time that you were investigating this initially, and I'm talking about in November of 2023. You were aware at that time that William Hathaway was the supervisor of Scioto Township, is that right?
Yes.
And the fact that he was the supervisor of Scioto Township, did that have any effect, either positive or negative, on the way you handled your investigation?
Yes, I would assume.
Okay, can you explain that?
Given that it's a high profile nature, generally it's better to inform people of supervisors and so forth.
So as far as notifications, you were more careful with that because of the complainant's position?
Yes.
Anything else that you did differently? So there was no special treatment given to Mr. Hathaway, certainly, was there?
I don't believe so. No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Deputy, do you still have a defendant's exhibit G with you?
Sorry.
Okay, great. I'm just, actually, if I can use the system, I may prefer that. May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Deputy, you testified earlier that the date that you initially went to this call and sort of worked on this was in what month of what year?
2023.
And this should be live now. This is defendant's exhibit G that's previously been admitted into evidence. You were asked questions about a few moments ago. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What's the date on this email?
1/31/2024.
So when your investigation was happening initially in fall of 2023, that email hadn't even been sent yet?
Correct.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. You may step down. Thank you, sir.
Is he excused, Your Honor?
No objection.
All right, this witness is excused. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May call your next witness.
Kevin Parvis.
Sir, please come forward to be sworn.
Steve, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Steve, state spell your first and last name for the record.
Detective Kevin Parvis, last name spelled Parviz.
Thank you.
Inquire.
Sir, how are you employed? And how long have you been in that position? Do you have any other prior police experience?
Yes, I was at Detroit.
What role or position do you currently have within the sheriff's department?
I'm in charge of our computer forensics lab.
And what does that entail?
Forensically examine cell phones, computers, digital media in general, and pretty much anything that is computer related.
Do you complete extractions and forensic downloads of different devices as a component of that? And do you, or had you previously worked with Homeland Security as well?
Yes, I worked with them for as a task force officer for nearly 10 years.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in information assurance, network security, specification, and a master's degree in computer forensics and a PhD information assurance with my dissertation specifically in computer forensics. I also did some postdoc research with Science University.
Do you currently teach?
Correct.
Have you taught in the past?
Yes, I taught for
Where at?
both at Eastern Michigan University, both graduate and undergraduate classes, and at the Washington Community College.
What types of classes would you teach at those facilities?
Anything from incident response, network security to computer forensics levels 2 and 3, the highest one is 3.
What special training do you have related to computer forensics?
I have more than 70.
You stopped counting? Do you recall when your most recent trainings may have been?
Most recent one was actually last week, was Celebrate certified operator, CPLA, certified operator.
Cellbrite is a tool to extract cell phones. Your Honor, may I approach actually to give to the court a copy of People's Proposed Exhibit 2?
You may.
And your current title, sir, is that a detective corporal, is that right?
Detective,
And how long have you been a detective corporal?
since 2000, March of 2003.
March of 2003. So you've been a detective since 2003? And Your Honor, permission to put People's Proposed Exhibit 2 up on the screen? Have you recently completed or updated your curriculum vitae?
I did, I don't think it reflects my last week's training.
Not last week's training, but up recently. Is this appear to be a fair and accurate copy of your CV? 8 pages?
I believe so.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
Any objection or voir dire?
No, Your Honor.
She was admitted.
Sir, have you previously been qualified as an expert witness?
Yes, several times.
In what fields?
Maybe 24 hours.
How many times have you testified as an expert in computer forensics?
Many, many times. I don't remember.
Have you been qualified as an expert before judges within Washtenaw County? Your Honor, I move to qualify this witness as an expert in the field of computer forensics.
No objection.
So qualified.
Thank you. Detective Parvis, how did you initially become involved in this case?
Deputy Phillips, heads up that some cases has come up.
And what is your general process when you're going to become involved in a case and do any computer forensic investigation?
I basically start collecting evidence through the officer in charge of the case. In this case, the Deputy Phillips. I asked him to, my role is an assistant to the local patrol that I can go and collect and do the computer forensic backlog that we have at the moment.
What, if anything, did you advise Deputy Phillips to do?
In this case, reference the computer at issue.
So initially, I needed to get the, I believe it was the header, email header information which he provided, and then I needed to get the server logs. That's usually the first thing I do. And I believe at some point, so 2 years ago, about, so I believe that he told me that it was getting too technical, so I kind of stepped in and contacted the Scioto Township IT.
At some point, did you actually get your hands on the laptop at issue in this case, what's been called the Scioto Township shared laptop?
Yes.
Were you able to image that laptop? What does that mean?
It's basically, when it comes to computers, it's a bit by bit forensic image that we create last item, digital item on the storage portion of the laptop. It's going to be transferred to forensic machine.
And did you complete, I'm going to start with, did you complete a report and date it December 14th, 2023 related to this case? And is that report contain your expert conclusion and analysis? Your Honor, I have for the court, People's Proposed Exhibit 3, which I move to admit at this time.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object. This witness's report is hearsay. It's not admissible. He's understanding to testify about the contents of the report. I've never seen anyone introduce the actual report as evidence. I don't understand the basis for this. So hearsay is my objection. Thank you.
Response.
Your Honor, he is an expert witness and he has come to these conclusions. These are his expert conclusions, excuse me, and the report that he prepared for this case after analyzing the evidence. I do believe he is allowed to have this. I do believe this is a proper thing to be admitted for the court to consider.
It's statements of this witness. The witness is on the stand. He could say what his report concluded.
But if you have an expert witness and they produce a report, could have a number of different types of expert witnesses. why wouldn't they be allowed to submit their report?
Just reads like a police report, Your Honor. He talks about who he questioned, what they said.
No, but your objection isn't that it reads like a police report.
It's hearsay. That's my view.
Well, right, but your objection is that the report itself should be okay.
Yes, if there's something particular in the report that's not being offered for the truth, I would have no objection, but there's lots of stuff in here that's. Statements of fact.
As an expert, though, he's permitted to give his opinions, his conclusions. That's what's different about this report. And as you compared it to a police report, that's one of the distinctions. I mean, experts are allowed to do certain things. They're allowed to deal with hypotheticals. They're allowed to, experts can do different things. So is your only objection to that report that it's hearsay?
That's my objection.
All right.
Most of this is hearsay. Thank you.
I'm going to admit Exhibit 3.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness and the court with copies?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, you overruled it, Your Honor. I didn't hear your ruling. You overruled it, correct?
Your objection?
Overruled, right?
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
on that basis.
Okay. So starting on Exhibit 3, page 1 appears to be a cover page, correct?
That's correct.
And starting on page 2, there's a highlighted portion. What was significant to you about the bottom of page 2 where you wanted to highlight this piece of information?
It is showing the email that sent out, and it is using an IP address.
What's an IP address?
An IP address is basically like it's the translation, the technical version, or you want the.
You, sir, I trust your explanation, so you can give us both if you prefer to make it a little more hands-on.
So when a computer needs to the internet, actually provide credentials to the internet, then internet will assign it a number, and that is the IP address, like a house address.
And you were able to determine what about this IP address, if anything, or why was it highlighted for you?
Yes, it's that is the Wi-Fi IP address of Sarah Township.
Okay, thank you. And so knowing that this is the Wi-Fi address of Scioto Township, moving on in your report. And page 3, I see a section called message trace. Can you explain what the message trace is, please?
Message trace is basically a function within a server that an email server that you can command it to retrieve information, really detailed information about an email that was sent or received, a journal. Whatever happens to an email is going to be.
And you mentioned something about an email server. Is there a distinction between an email server and what's on a computer about an email?
Yes, an email server. So when emails came about, they were using what was called POP. That was the Post Office Protocol version 3, POP 3. And with that, you had let's say a laptop. When I communicated with somebody, whatever I sent and whatever I received remained on that computer. The problem was with, if I'm at home and I leave the laptop behind, all my emails are going to remain on that laptop. So they came up with a newer protocol, and with that, it's called IMAP. And what it does is that the computer becomes the brain of the operation. Your laptop will give you an illusion that you're actually commanding something, but all your commands are going to the server. And I'm sure we've experienced when we had internet, but then we were trying to send an email, and if the server is busy, you're gonna get a little circle, and if you click again on your application, on your mail application, it's gonna turn into like a ghostly looking thing. That's because the server is busy. You are at the mercy of the server.
And when you perform a message trace, are you looking at server data, computer data, both? What are you doing?
It's basically both and then some. It also shows the nodes that it had traveled through. The header information provides some information, but the server log is the mail server log has much more extensive.
When you started doing the message trace on the email at issue here, the one that was sent to Will Hathaway on the evening in question, what did you find?
I found out that if I could take a look.
Yes, it's in evidence now, so you are absolutely allowed to refer to People's Exhibit 3.
So
Page 3, I think, is where we're at right now.
I see that there was, I saw that there was a lot of communications. There was a log of transactions starting at about 6:08. I'm sorry.
If you have a different place you'd like us to look at the information.
So this is UTC time, London time. It's going to be 2,200 hours, 6:10.
And that's in the back of the report where we have this sort of just raw data, I'll call it, page 7 of 8, towards the end of this report.
This is because of the limitations that we have with our reports. A lot of excess.
So the sheet that we're looking at now, it should say at the very, very top, 2023-11-15T 220450 journal at Scioto Township. Okay. On this page, please
Sorry, I'm
confirm.
not following, tracking this. I have the page 8 of 8.
Nope, page 7 of 8.
7.
Oh,
7 of 8. Yep.
At the top?
Yep. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So please go. Please, Detective.
Hold on.
Yeah.
7 of 8.
Yep. So it's this attachment is 8 pages. So it is 7 of 8 towards the back, Your Honor. I
No,
believe
I
is.
see that.
Yeah.
And then you say at the top, it says what? Because mine,
Can't find 7 of 8.
May I approach?
yes, because I'm council pro. Because my 7 of 8 is this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
I
I
was
believe
look-
that's correct.
Maybe I was looking for a header, so
Yeah.
that's why I was, okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Appreciate the court's patience. Please, Detective, you're on this page.
Can I put a little dot on where I'm talking, because they're small print, so I'm having hard time.
Yeah, of course, whatever you need to do. That's your copy. The court has its own copy.
And the part that I'm starting is 2023-11-50T. 2308. That's where, so it's about halfway through the page. 2308. It's about 15 entries.
All right.
That is where it says J. Flintoff at Scioto Township.
And what does that column represent?
So we have one column that has the date and time stamp to the last second, and then you have the name of person that was sent the email to, which is J. Flintoff at sciototownship.org. Then we have the subject line, which is forwarded external RE Election Commission, WF. The alternating is the the will W Hathaway@sciatownship.org. And then in front of it, at the very last column, on the rightmost column, has the IP address, 107.0.218.115, which is Scioto Township's right.
Okay.
IP.
So as you began your message trace, that was one of the first things that you looked at?
That was one of the first things that I saw. That was the issue. Got to the.
And after looking at that, what did that, what did you learn from that?
That an email was indeed sent at 23:08:38, which is UTC time, local time would be 6:08 p.m. and 38 seconds. An email was sent out to Jay Flintoff using bouncing off of the Scioto Township Wi-Fi. We also have the name of the subject line for that.
What are these other entries at the same time, just very, very small units of time apart that say journal?
Sure, the computer does, processing unit does a lot of processing. So there are a lot of things that happen. As I mentioned, the server log logs in any transaction that happened regarding that particular email. Here we have the journal. Journal is the basically write ahead kind of, it's the older version of the write ahead logs. So the computer is not putting this into its hard drive yet. There's what's called 30 pages in the RAM right now. And before it gets cached in back to the hard drive, that's what it's showing. It's not like a bunch of emails went out, it's just one email, the rest of the computers.
And do you notice anywhere in here where you can see where a different, or maybe a later time or anything else that you observed, or is there any other?
So there, the email that went out at 23:08 is followed by 3:08:39 seconds. So this is 6 hours later. Mr. Hathaway's email was used to it looks like a reply email. It looks like a different IP address was used to send this email with that subject line.
You said about 6 hours later? All right. What did you do next?
Then I basically started asking questions. Again, I was getting to the technical part of it, even though I was still assisting. And folks may have not known what to ask, so I ended up asking Mr. Hathaway several questions about wherever I was. And then I asked, a later time, I asked Deputy Phillips to get the laptop.
So at this point, you've just analyzed the server logs.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, can I look at my report?
Absolutely.
Did ask, reach out to the IT person, Chris Bailey. I did reach out to Mr. Hathaway. I analyzed the server logs, and then I received a laptop and did the forensics on it.
How did you complete the forensic imaging or download?
I usually use FPK Imager that I've been using for the last 20+ years, and then I used I tried to use FTK 7.6. I got errors. I tried Axiom and other forensic tools. I got errors, and then I had to upgrade FTK to version 8 and successfully acquired the.
This software that you use, what kind of software is this?
It's a forensic tool that I have been using. Anyway,
Is it available to the general public? Okay. And how do you get it, or how is it given to you?
the county purchased it. It's about a $10,000 a year.
What did you do after you were able to image the laptop?
Once I did that, and then I started, well, the imagery part of it is you just create a file, a bunch of files. These are compressed files, and you have to actually use acquisition to parse out what these files are. What's an email inside this, what's a picture inside of it, all that. So that acquisition part of it took place in FK version 8. Then I started analyzing. Again, we go straight to what matters in this case. I went straight to the email. I noticed that the email application.
What's the email application on this laptop that had been deleted?
I'm sorry.
What was the email application on this laptop that had been deleted?
Oh yeah, it was Apple, desktop version Apple.
And do you have a term that you use when you're looking for pieces of evidence within a computer?
Yeah, they're called artifacts.
Right. Were you able to locate artifacts related to this email?
Yes.
What were you able to locate?
So I was looking initially at the general findings and finding out when this application was installed, some inquiry on that, and when it was deleted.
When was it deleted?
It was deleted at 6/24, that same day when that email went out.
And what happened next after you were able to look at that?
I continued with just general looking up at, I did some inquiry on who was there operating the laptop. And I also wanted to see if there was any key fob information, people entering the township hall, things of that nature, and pretty much.
What happened next?
So after that, I did some. I usually search for a case like this, again, specific to this case. I wanted to see if there's any possibility that Mr. Hathaway would have to get into that laptop when he was in possession of the defendant, and I checked to see if there are any viruses in there, any remote applications. I didn't find any remote applications. No, not even artifacts.
What is a remote application, for the record?
It's like a Zoom call. Sorry. Yeah, it's like the team viewer, a bunch of applications that you basically take control of the other laptop in a distance.
Did you find any evidence of that on this computer? Did you find any evidence of a virus on this computer? What else did you do in part of your investigation?
So after that, I went to, because the email was deleted, the email application was deleted, I had to resort to the database called the search database within Windows. And its functionality is basically to, we refer to it as Windows spying on you, but truly what it does is that it tries to maintain to find out what is happening to the computer so that when you're looking for something, you can actually search for it. And it uses this version of the laptop. It's Windows 10. It's using an older version. It's called the ESE database. It's kind of a almost text-based database. Things have evolved tremendously since then. And, so I went into to check for that specific email to see if there are any artifacts left behind of that particular email.
Were you able to find any?
I was.
What did you find?
So I found it in the search. So this is not the email. This is not the actual email. What search does is that it records portions of the user activity. And in this case, I looked at it as well. This is not automated provided by the forensic tool. It is the manual carving of the data. So I found that email and I carved, and at the bottom of it, this is on page 8 of 11 of my report.
The first set of 8, the first page 8, correct? So on the first page 8 is where we're looking now, right?
My report.
And this is the page that talks about hexadecimals?
Yes.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Please continue.
So this is, as you can see in the screenshot, on the top portion where the 1 and 2 can be seen, that's the actual one. It's a hexadecimal. It shows the forwarding address, which is the same as.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, can I find out where we are? I'm not tracking where he is.
Page 8 of
8 of 11, which would have been starting at the beginning of the.
Yep. I also checked this long thing, for the possibility of a scheduled email.
So the portion on the top that has numerals 1 and 2, that is what is presenting to me. The big middle portion that has numerals 4 and 5, that's the tool that I use to interpret the number 3, that's a tiny little timestamp at the bottom.
And what are hexadecimals?
So that's how computer talks. It interprets zeros and ones into hexadecimal.
So rather than binary, it has a different language?
It's based on zeros and ones. They're converted. Other than putting a bunch of zeros or just one, right? It's using that to simplify, make it shorter. So I found that, and I knew that where the time stamp was, so I located it right under the entry, and it is in hexadecimal, and I used a tool called P-code and turned it into English to readable format.
And what were you able to determine about the email in question?
So I saw that the search database you have when the application was touched, we call it Linux touched or opened, accessed. And then you have the closing of it when the activity is done. And then you have a third time, that is when the database is tabulating. So the first and the second, the first one here is showing when this email was accessed. It was accessed at 6:08:00 on 11:15. That's what it's showing.
All right.
Now,
What did you see? What else did you see about this email?
so that takes us to the next page, which is the second entry in the search database. And that is the same thing on the top. This is top very bottom portions from the computer. The middle part is my tool to interpret it. And as you can see here at 6:08 and 37 seconds, this transaction was done. So
What was this transaction?
this transaction was opening the email at 6:08:00, and then the user was done with that. We don't know what happened. He actually did what the user did, but the transaction was completed 37 seconds later.
Do schedules send emails create red artifacts?
No, they don't.
Is the first artifact in the hexadecimals that we see on page 8 a red artifact?
Those are actually the computer marks it as red.
Ah.
That's what it does. I always try to be cautious about that. I use the word rendering my first report, just following what the computer said. But I wanted to be more accurate, so my supplement report after that, I mentioned this and I said that I erroneously said that the computer says so. I would change that to access.
Accessed. So does a schedule send email create an accessed artifact? It does not, correct?
No, it doesn't. If something is scheduled, you're not gonna see it.
Okay.
Because it's not done by the user.
Based on your expert opinion and these artifacts, are you able to determine if a human being opened this email?
Yes,
And what is your opinion?
my opinion is that it's, the user double click on that email and open it as.
And what happened 37 seconds later?
I don't know what happened, but for that, I have to refer to the server logs. Server logs is showing that email was sent at the exact time, plus 1 second. So at 6:08:38 seconds, 7 seconds, that email was sent.
So we have an artifact on the laptop. It's 6:08, 37 seconds. And then we have a server log showing a sent email at 6:08 and 38 seconds. What did you do next?
Then I checked for event viewer. Usually the event viewer gets us some system information with that we have. And then, but at that time, I thought that I advised the township supervisor at the time, I forgot the way to issues with a couple of things, security wise. And then operating at Scioto Township. I knew that email was sent from Scioto Township based on the IP address. I knew that the email was open at 6:08, and I knew that email was sent at 6:08:38 seconds. And based on all of that, I closed this case and turned it over to.
At some point later, did you complete another expert report in this case?
I did. This happened about a year and a half, I believe. If I could.
Yes, I'll have it for you here in just a second. Karen, may I approach the witness in the court with people's proposed exhibit 4? Thank you. Detective Parvis, I placed in front of you what's been marked as people's proposed exhibit 4. What do you recognize this to be?
This is my second forensic report. And this was after myself and Assistant Prosecutor Childers and the defense, the two defense attorneys at the prosecutor's office.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of that report?
Yes.
Does it contain your expert opinion and analysis of the evidence in this case? Move for the admission of 4.
Objection, hearsay, same reasons as before.
This is a report that is his conclusions based upon his analysis.
Further analysis and investigation, Your Honor, that's correct.
And this was, I mean, the participation in this was actually by all parties
Yes, I believe so.
at this point.
I don't think the defense attorneys are named, but my understanding is that defense counsel in the courtroom was one of them.
Yes, Mr. Bellatter's name.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe in a different area. I'm looking at a different part.
Page, well, named, but it's really reference to
Oh, yes, I see it lower here.
claims.
Yes.
For defensive objections, I'm going to admit the report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Parvis, when you completed this report, what were you attempting to, what hypothesis were you testing?
What happened was that the defense had issued two emails, two pieces of pieces of paper. One was showing that an email was sent twice, and another one was that a Zoom call that was supposed to go out on November 13th, it was a scheduled meeting on the 13th, was actually sent out on the 15th.
Were you able to verify those with server logs?
No.
Were they presented to you with server logs?
Well, that was the main issue because they were not in the server log. So when you're looking at November 15th activity, you don't see the Zoom meeting invitation going out, that everything on that server.
Did you do any further investigation contained within this report?
Yes, I actually started, I went and talked to Mr. Hathaway, and what happened. He sent me an email back, and I got it, minus the times of dates. But what people and I copied on Facebook. And then that's pretty much the
Is this the shortest of your reports?
this version.
And at some time later, did you actually complete a third forensic analysis and report for this case?
Yes,
And Your Honor, may I approach the court and the witness with what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Detective Parvis, I placed in front of you what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 5. Do you recognize that?
I'm gonna object
Yes, same objection.
for hearsay, there's less hearsay.
Okay, same ruling, same ruling.
I know.
Five's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Shortcut the process a little. Detective Parvis, what is the date of this report?
this one is on April of this year, April 8th. of this year.
All right. And what did you examine in this report?
Specifically, the defense had hired a forensic examiner to go over the findings on the same laptop. I provided them the image, the forensic image, and then in return, I received a report by the forensic person. And this is my counter to this.
So starting at the beginning, which of the claims or hypotheses in that report did you disprove?
This is, I refer to the forensic examiner by his last name as Lieb.
Lieb as in boy?
And the first thing that I went over was that he stated that, can I give a summary of what the defense's forensic examiner said in it?
If it's part of what forms your expert opinion, you may.
Yes, it's, this was usually when we do computer forensics, it's based on what we see in the as evidence. It's completely evidence-based analysis. Here, the defense examiner what they did was that they had an idea in their head that there was some sort of conspiracy.
You're not gonna object to the characterization of what any defense expert had in their head. I think this is inappropriate speculation. He can give his opinion, but he can't describe.
Yeah, but he's describing it as how he sees it based upon then from that, his analysis. So certainly you can question him on what may be the premise of what he's seeing, which may or may not lead to his conclusion.
I have no
So
problem.
I think certainly he can state it, so objections overruled. But
So you're talking about an evidence-based versus what you saw here. So please continue.
Yes, I'm not trying to read, but I'm just, based on what I read, the defense examiner was trying to do what's called a Texas sharpshooter fallacy, which is when there's a big difference between shooting at a target and shooting at something and drawing a circle around.
Oh, okay.
That's what they were doing. They started with an idea that there was some sort of a conspiracy, and then they expanded on that, following that. And my second page of the report has a direct quote on that. And I started by saying that should I read what the examiner said?
It's in evidence. You don't need to, but you can start talking about what your conclusions were based on this report.
So the initial part of it is when the login time was, which is correct. That's what I came up with too. It was at again UTC time 11:04, so it's going to be 6:04 seconds. Then the second part that probably the only second thing that I actually agreed with the defense examiner was that the Outlook was launched at 6:07. So they logged in at 6:04. Outlook desktop version was launched at 6:07.
So you agreed with those conclusions.
After that, part of it. There are actually two additional things that the defense examiner did not include in his report, and that is between 6:04 and 6:07. There are two additional things that happen, and that is the Zoom application appears to have been activated at 11:05 and 11:07.
What did you look at next? Or what else did you see?
We also have at 11, again, I'm mixing these. I'm gonna go with local time, so there's no confusion. At 6:08, we have two event ID numbers, 325, of which is basically the computer is rejecting the user's access. Its access is denied. The user was trying to access something that they were denied. After that, one of the things that the defense examiner was saying was that their idea was that Mr. Hathaway was somewhere else and forwarded that email to Jay Buntoff, and the defendant had nothing to do with it. And the problem with that was that we have the server logs, and it's showing that it was coming from the South Township Wi-Fi, was hitting the South Township Wi-Fi. We also have the artifacts of that email, as I mentioned in my first report that I manually carved out, that very laptop was involved in that email sending. So we have the location and we have the device. And the defense examiner completely ignored all of this and just pushed on with the idea of the rest of his report is pretty much talking about I had to mention in my report, I referred to the email that was sent out that we are here for, as the election email.
The election email, okay.
And the defense had, in my second report, as I mentioned, we had a meeting with the defense and they kept bringing up this Zoom invite that was supposed to be scheduled for the 13th, but it was set on the 15th. At the same time, almost at the same time as when the defendant was operating the laptop. And the defense examiners were basing a lot of their goal to try to prove that the email invite and the Zoom invite and the election email were sent at the same time. And that's why there's somehow Mr. Hathaway was somewhere else on sending. So, and that's I'm not gonna read it verbatim here at the bottom of page 3.
And that's an excerpt from the other report, correct? Okay. And then going to page 4, what else did you do when you were analyzing this again?
So even though I had done this before, this time I went to the automatic version of this email, that election email. So on page 4 of my report, you see that I have a screenshot of Axiom is telling me that, as you can see, there's 3 transactions done by search. This is Windows search again. We're not looking at the email that was deleted. We're not looking at Outlook. We're looking at Windows search tags. And as you can see, it's showing that at 6:08, I'm translating to local time, there's a user communication. It's tagging it as such.
Why is that relevant to your analysis?
Because it has to be, when you click on it, there's something, and I think it's an attachment to this report. There's a little signature at the very bottom, and it says MAPI. MAPI is a messaging application programming interface. And that is for Outlook, and it's when the user is actually interacting with the application. And based on that, Axiom, in this case, it's Axiom Forensics that picks up on that and says, okay, this is a user communication they clicked on.
What is a user communication?
The user communication is a human being that is using MAPI, which is the email container.
Okay.
So it's 2 factors.
Not automated, not the computer. Okay.
And then you can see the second entry here, again, looking at search database at 6:08:37 seconds. This is the part that I had manually carved out. This is the automated version. As you can see, it says user communication. That's the column. That's because a user was using this. The last entry, as you can see, there's no user communication. This is because databases have those 3 actions. The third action is this is an entire semester of teaching it, but
Let's get the cliff notes.
make it much shorter.
Thank you.
It's basically so if you're just think of database as an Excel sheet. Something you're constantly adding things to it and constantly taking things out of it, you're going to consume your entire computer's processing power. What happens is that when a bunch of transactions are happening, for example, if you're on the internet, you're going from page to page, things are changing in your database as since the internet is actually in the backbone of it, SQLite database. So it can't just keep up with you. So
What does it do instead?
so what it does is that it actually bundles all these changes that have happened and puts them in your RAM. So they're called, these are 64 kilobyte chunks. That's sitting in your RAM. So if power goes out right now at that stage, you're gonna lose all that activity. So if somebody was doing something nefarious at the time, you pull the plug, you're gonna lose all of that, because that's in RAM. Then there's several steps after that. I'm gonna make them very, very short and say at the end of it, all of these old transactions wait until the computer is done doing its main primary transactions. So let's say your internet is more important to you than Excel sheet than your database. So it's gonna wait until you are done with your whatever you're doing. So it could take up to, sometimes I've seen it in more than weeks, that third entry is just blank because it hasn't written back into the database. It's still sitting on the hard drive. It's or in the form of a cache in the RAM. This is all automated. That third transaction is all automated. So that's what you're looking at. So we see that 6:14 p.m. The database actually recorded that, finished its transaction.
Did you apply this Axiom forensics tool to these Zoom invites?
Yes.
What happened when you did that?
So when you're looking at the Zoom one, it's the same concept, but that's on page 5 of 14.
On page 5? Okay.
And,
Which report is this?
Page 3. Report 3, page 5.
What we see here is the Zoom call, that the Zoom invitation. When you look at that, it says that 11:08:08. But you see the bottom category where the orange box in there is no user communication. This is an automated transaction. And as a matter of fact, the defense examiner agrees that this was an automated thing. The thing is that they didn't produce any evidence that this was an automated thing. And their mind was to go after making the entire thing programmed, pre-programmed, which is not the case. And we'll get to that why. And I broke it down into the more expanded version of it at the bottom of that page 5, what each one of those entries is.
And when these are artifacts as well at the bottom of page 5? What is the distinction between the two artifacts?
So one is a calendar, the other one is a sent item. It's accessing the calendar and it's accessing the sent item. That's the different paths.
Neither done by a user on the computer. Thank you.
Not on that page.
Say it again for me, please.
Not on the 15th.
Not on the 15th. What did you analyze next while you're doing your expert analysis?
So here but first of all, you have to mention that this also, this transaction is not seen, I have to reiterate that it's not active with the server logs. When any transaction happens that's pertaining to email, it should show in that Excel sheet that I had. It was not.
Are you familiar with the possibility to link a Zoom account to an email account?
Yes, I am. You have an add-on within your Outlook. Because the Outlook was deleted, I don't know if it was an add-on.
So you can't speak to that because it had been deleted?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of an unfalsifiable issues that I can't say one way or another, because this is all happening a year after this was brought up to our attention. The server log doesn't last for I've seen server logs that don't last more than 2 days. A year later, obviously was not there. So I don't have any basis for any of this. Just brought up something that brought up.
What was the next step in your analysis?
So, so one of the things that I tried to still figure out what this Zoom application happened. Again, based on the evidence that I can see, there were two event ID 325 that I said, that means that the user was denied access, which means that it could have been that when the defendant was opening Zoom application, maybe it was cashed out. Cashed out meaning it was in the outbox and it was sent when it was opened up. That could be a possibility, but one way or another, I cannot say what happened.
Okay, you cannot draw a conclusion about that definitive.
And then the defense forensic examiner also mentioned that verbatim, this is what he said prior to the forensic imaging of Scioto Township laptop used by Jillian Kerry on November 15th, 2023 to conduct a Zoom meeting. All email contained within the laptop itself was permanently deleted beyond recovery.
Is that accurate?
That's not it.
Why not?
I actually recovered 69,000 emails.
And how did you do that?
So Windows has volume shadow copies, and basically in the background, every time you're installing something that is going to change things within the system, it creates a little shadow copy. It's not a backup. It's I'm very technical, but it's a shadow copy. It's sitting there, but it maintains what happened before that. You can always go back to it.
Is VSC the term you would use for that, the abbreviation?
Correct. Yes.
And you were able to recover 69,000?
Yes, it was in the VAC, but the problem was that the VAC happened on November 13th, 2 days before this happened at the township. And so I don't have the email from the 15th. However, I was able to recover that Zoom invite, which is at the bottom of page 7. You see that email was sent. It's got a timestamp when it was sent. I'll start time and the end time, and it's all on the 13th when it was clicked on. I don't know if it was sent or not, but all I can say based on what I'm seeing is that it was clicked to be sent.
What happened next when you were completing your analysis?
So just to verify that Zoom invitations use a unique Zoom numbering system for the planned meeting, and that number corresponds with the exact number of the Zoom.
Represented on page 8?
Yes.
Thank you. What was the next step in your analysis?
The next one was that I believe this is when the defense examiner stated something to the effect of 9 emails were sent at the time when the defendant was operating the laptop. That is completely wrong.
How come?
Because I manually looked at this laptop. I ran 2 forensic tools that I've used for more than 2 decades, and they never showed that. And primarily because the the email server logs don't show anything but that 1 email. They don't show 9 emails. This was that's why I always teach my students that you have to manually check anything that's going to okay. So
Yeah, actually, I could use a break if you don't mind, Your Honor. That would be okay.
Sure. I was gonna, we're about 5 minutes off of where I was gonna call for one anyway, but this is a good point.
I think so.
Let's take a break. All
Thank
right,
you.
quarter standing. How much more do you have? of Your,
Oh, sorry.
no, I know you have, of your questioning.
Just the end of this report. We're on page 10 of 14.
Okay. And then we'll see where we end up.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
all right. Quarter standing.
All right.